Jeff Sessions and his Justice Department have decided to get serious about racism against white people. If you're confused about why this is happening, welcome to the club.
When we talk about the power of melanated people, when we talk about who we really are as guys and understanding that our melanin is so powerful and it connects us in a way that the reason why they fear black, the reason why they fear is because the lack that they have of it. So then when you see what, Dr. Francis C. Welsing talked about is that fear in that
just genetic annihilation,
that deficiency of when you have a person that has the lack of pigment, the lack of melanin, that they know that they will be annihilated. They have the lack of compassion. That melanin comes with compassion. Melanin comes with soul. That we call it soul. We soul brothers and sisters. That's the melanin that connects us. So the people that don't have it are a little less. They're acting out of fear, low self-esteem. Therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight.
In order to survive, they had to be savages. They had to be barbaric.
Gregory Alfred was charged Wednesday, March 23rd with multiple counts, including attempted murder as a hate crime. The New York Daily News reports he slashed the victim around 10 a.m. March 10th as she was walking in the Ditmas Park neighborhood of Brooklyn. Sources told the New York Post he told police he had set out to slash white people.
Ron, you can speak that because first time you were around all white people when you came to high school.
Yeah. I went to an all-white high school, Catholic high school. So, like, when I first went to the 9th grade in the high school, I was on some, like, I'm not white people.
Right.
Like, because I was so institutionalized growing up in the hood, it's like they don't with us. They don't want us to succeed. The hierarchy, and then we're here. Like, matter of fact, we're underneath this chair. So I'm like, I'm going to this school to play ball, and that's it. I don't want nothing to do with white people. I don't believe that they want anything to do with I don't want it's me and my boys, we going to high school together, and we here to hoop. So that was like my initial thoughts and my initial shock to white America when I was 14 years old for the first time in my life.
We don't hate white people, but God hates white people.
He points out that a lot of the racial narratives we're being told are just ridiculous. He tweeted the other day, he said, "I'm hearing it repeated as gospel truth that nearly all American mass shooters are white. Here are the photos of mass shooters from 2019 defined as 4 or more shot in a single incident. It shows quite a diverse set of faces." And you see when you're looking in there, you see white people, you see a lot of black people, you see what looks like some maybe Hispanic people, some other races in there as well. Andy Ngo is now being accused of defending white supremacy.
Reverend John Edgerton said it was love that inspired a church sign headline, "Fasting from Whiteness."
I keep trying to point out to people not to demonize any one group or any one ethnicity. So we have to stop demonizing people and realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men.
But oh wait, according to the breaking 911 account, the Waukesha Christmas parade suspect appears in court. The criminal complaint reveals he made, quote, "no attempt to slow down and drove in zigzag pattern to hit more pedestrians." They write, a now deleted Facebook account belonging to Daryl Brooks Jr., 39, showed the alleged killer had encouraged knocking white people the F out and also appeared to support the controversial Black Hebrew Israelites. Facebook posts also show the amateur rapper, who went by his stage name Math Boy Fly, had shared a series of links and memes relating to race and white privilege in June 2020 when protests erupted over the death of George Floyd. In a post from June 9, 2020, Brooks wrote, "learned and taught behavior, so when we start back knocking white people the F out, I don't want to hear it. The old white people to knock them the F out, period," followed by a middle finger and expletive emoji. He also shared an article from ESPN that same day about NBA player Kyle Kuzma breaking down his belief of what white privilege is, to which Brooks commented, "interesting." Brooks had also shared a post about a white cop being violent towards peaceful protesters 6 days earlier, and among the brow-raising social media posts that surfaced on Tuesday was a meme about Adolf Hitler and the identity identity of the real Jews. The graphic, posted on November 2015, claimed Negroes are the true Hebrews and that America had moved false white Jews into a state of Israel. The post seemed to promote the views of the Black Hebrew Israelites who believe African Americans are the literal descendants of the Israelites in the Bible.
Let's go to our friend Tariq Nasheed and see what he had to say. Why are so many people making the Waukesha incident racial? Is there any proof race was a motivating factor? Keep in mind, Tariq Nasheed, when it came to the Kyle Rittenhouse incident, said suspected white supremacist murderer Kyle Rittenhouse was allegedly being groomed to become a killer cop. So that's his take there, but I guess now it's time to wait for all the facts. And even when the facts are there, don't look too hard. Another Democrat official called it karma for the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict. I don't know how it's karma when it's all innocent people at a Christmas parade, not when a young 17-year-old's getting violently attacked by a pedophile at a riot. I don't see how those two things are the same.
Now, the course we're talking about is a part of the University of Minnesota Center for Practice and Transformation and School of Social Work, and it is a 12-step program to make white students aware of their innate white supremacy.
I'm sorry, the Georgia man arrested for stabbing a stranger last month, claiming he felt the need to find a white man to kill after watching videos of police brutality, has murdered the white cellmate he was placed with following his arrest.
On what? You know what I am? I'm your worst nightmare, bro. Yeah, once you go ahead down and stick with that comedy and shit. This ain't the one you want to talk to, bro. We ain't no Black Lives Matter. We ain't none of that bullshit.
Go ahead, scoot on.
We're Black militia. Some shit that's your worst nightmare.
Go ahead.
We're Black militia, bro. What are you? What are you is the question. Everywhere you go, you invade, steal, rape, rob, and kill it.
Oh, really?
Then you steal people's culture. Then you have the nerve to have an attitude about it. Where's our reparations? Thank you.
No question about that.
I like the song.
What did I do to you?
It's not what you did. What your people did.
So
you're benefiting from man. Go ahead with that white denial shit before you lose your life.
I ain't gonna get in this with y'all.
Fuck out my face, white.
Organizers for a Seattle gay pride event say they're charging white people a, quote, reparations fee to attend. They have the support of City Council President and mayoral candidate Lorena Gonzalez and the Seattle Human Rights Commission. Taking Black Pride, organizers say all are welcome to attend. However, white allies and accomplices must pay the reparations fee. It will be charged on a sliding scale of $10 to $50, depending on one's ability to pay. Critics question whether race-based admission fees are appropriate. Seattle Municipal Code clearly prohibits racial discrimination, but organizers have pushed back, calling criticism of their admission structure casual violence.
Not just at Elon University, Purdue University was just proposing a mandatory class in anti-racist thought. What is anti-racist thought? It's racist thought. I know. Isn't that ironic? The Purdue Musical Organizations announced in January its members would be required to complete 6 classes on anti-racist thought. This includes white privilege, white supremacy, white fragility, and white saviorism and how to be a better ally. This according to emails that were seen by the Washington Free Beacon.
In 2019, the Yerba Buena Center of the Arts in San Francisco screened a movie by one of their fellows called Why Don't We Murder More White People?
I think about white people in many different contexts, and it's upsetting sometimes to think about how much whiteness invades my life and my mind, like my world.
I think the reason why we don't murder white people is because they are protected, in a sense. No one wants to harm the innocent-looking white girl, or no one wants to harm, even if they're in a context where they're angry and being as violent as the same person of color who's doing the same thing that they're seen as more innocent.
A police report says the attacker shouted white expletive with braids before the beatdown near the intersection of Washington and Winter Streets. A responding officer says one of those girls yelled at him, "What you want to do?" before being met with a sudden punch to his face. A police report says the teens also attacked other responding officers and hurled racially motivated insults at them. And what's reportedly just the latest in a recent barrage barrage of juvenile incidents in the area involving fighting, disturbances inside businesses, vandalism, assaults on citizens and police officers, and civil rights violations.
I'm not going to harm a white person. I'm not going to murder a white person because I'm scared.
As people of color, I don't think that we have the same sense of loss to kill others as much at the same rate. I think that white people now have become, it's like just part of like whiteness to be abusive and violent.
Man, I need to get drunk.
This bitch ass nigga right here.
Yeah.
Bitch ass.
Yeah, bitch ass nigga, boy. Big Donald Trump, nigga. White people, boy.
No, bitch. Goofy. His ass go.
I think if you're not supporting people of color and to end white supremacy and you're neutral, or you are that person that's perpetrating it, then you shouldn't. I think you deserve harm.
I think that harm is radical, but I think sometimes radical is needed.
And I think we're taught to think about violence in a certain way, that like you don't want to be violent because that would make you look bad or something, or like make you and your community look bad. But whiteness is violence.
New pictures show Semi Lee Williams Jr. with a scratch on his face after a scuffle with deputies as he was being booked into jail earlier this month. He's accused of killing 14-year-old Ryan Rogers in Palm Beach Gardens. According to this Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office incident report, before that scuffle, a deputy asked Williams while being fingerprinted if he understood his charges, to which Williams said, yeah, murder, because of what they did to black people about giving them syphilis. After that, things escalated. That deputy says Williams got physical. The deputy resisted and took Williams down. As he was handcuffed, a sergeant in the report said Williams made an outburst. If y'all didn't help him, I was going to whoop his expletive, white devil.
We have to dismantle structural racism and say no to whiteness once and for all.
The scale shows white identities ranging from good white identities to bad white identities. But even that is a little bit of a misnomer, because the premise of the scale is that white people are bad. Being white, just being a white guy, which, by the way, the principle is defining. The left is defining.
Investigators overnight charging these 4 suspects with felony hate crime, battery, and kidnapping charges.
The actions in that video are reprehensible.
The gut-wrenching video appears to show a bound and gagged 18-year-old white man kicked and beaten by 4 African-American attackers.
It appears that he was in that physical position, tied up in the corner, for about 4 or 5 hours.
The assailants hurling racial slurs at the victim, whom authorities say is mentally challenged.
I was going into slavery for enslaving so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right? That's what the Bible say, all right? So y'all can sit up here and listen, y'all can take it as a joke, but guess what? All the atrocities that was done to our people, it's going to be done to you times 2.
Okay, let's go over the list in depth. We have snow possums, snow roaches, enemies of the sun. I'm not going to go in. I'm not reading them in order, obviously. Sugarcane snatchers, chalk demons, people of no color, Mayo sapiens, Mayo monkeys, Greek yogurt people, melanin deficient, not so silent majority, cauliflower crustacean, microwave mayonnaise, snow termites, glue sticks, vanilla villains, sour cream citizens, Sundown Sisters, blank Google Docs, yogurt yodelers, milk minions, ranch reindeers, white Wonder Bread, glue sticks, cream puff creators, Coke bricks, no purpose flowers, milk cricket, chalk children, lice lieutenants, literal cheesecake factories, ghost thugs, unwhipped cream cheese, plantation Barbies, colorless cardboards, plaster poodles, blizzard maggots, evolution's biggest mistakes, cave dwellers, Christopher Columbus's sisters, or, daughters, or actually probably both at that point, drywall, garlic goblins, Ku Klux Kleenex, light mode, hueless hooligans, people of colonial complexion, Parmesan parasites, walking dandruff, fecal lice, yeast beast, moon crickets, cloud-colored, sun-poisoned people, Hellman's honeys, I like that one a lot, rice water, Raggedy Ann dolls, and frost fiends, I like that one now.
Do you believe that? Do you believe all white people are inherently racist?
So, I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do.
Professor Johnny Eric Williams allegedly forwarded reports on his social media feed saying things like, if you see white people drowning or burning or bleeding to death, let them effing die and smile a bit when you do. He concluded the 18-post rampage with a hashtag, let them effing die.
White people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually, instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons. So in this particular way, white people are all racist.
Sent me a video on Instagram, which is titled, Why I'm Anti-White and You Should Be Too.
So, for example, in Harvard, with these documents that were released, on average, an Asian American applicant would have to score 1,300 on the SATs. A white American student, 1,350. A white American student would have to score 1,310 on average. A black American student would have to score 1,100.
A black man named Ward Connerly led the fight to get rid of race-based preferences in the areas of hiring, contracting, and college admissions. One of his detractors is a woman named Diane Watson, also black. She was a state lawmaker in California. Here's what she said. He's married to a white woman. He wants to be white. He wants a colorless society. He has no ethnic pride. He doesn't want to be black. End of quote.
According to the arrest form, 3 kids were approached by their classmates who yelled, "You are white." One began attacking the boys and the others joined in as the kids yelled, "It's opposite day" and "Brown power."
The rant ended with the teacher singling out all of her white students and then calling them European illegal immigrant killers. Because in this teacher's mind, it was somehow appropriate for her to call 12-year-olds who were in her class murderers because of the crimes of people who lived hundreds of years before they were alive. Why? Because they're white, and the people who did the bad thing she was referring to were also white. In her mind, all white people are the same, whether they live today or hundreds of years ago.
I just wanted to say that, and make this very clear, the only people who are taught that they are superior to another race are white people. And I would absolutely love to live in a world where Black people were taught that they are superior. I would love it because I full-heartedly believe that.
Over 100 days, we have connected unhoused residents at Massancast to housing, treatment, and services. We've launched 3 free bus lines. We've taken some big, bold actions, but I won't lie. This past winter was pretty intense. Trial by snow, trial by fire, fighters union. I'm getting used to dealing with problems that are expensive, disruptive, and white. I'm talking about snowflakes. I mean snowstorm snowflakes.
A whistleblower at Coca-Cola has leaked images from a sensitivity training slideshow. Slides included typical platitudes that you see today with woke, politically correct culture. Confronting racism. Understanding what it means to be white. Challenging what it means to be racist. In the U.S. and other Western nations, white people are socialized to feel that they are inherently superior because they are white. Try to be less white. So, how is one to be less white? Let's say we take Coca-Cola's challenge and demand and we say, okay, I'm going to try to be less white. What does that mean? Well, according to the slideshow, it means to be less oppressive, to be less arrogant, to be less certain, to be less defensive, to be less ignorant, to be more humble, to listen, to believe, to break with apathy, to break with white solidarity. Wow. Man, being white is pretty terrible, according to Coca-Cola.
What exactly are white people superior at?
Insecurity, pretending,
fear, being fearful of nothing, being ignorant,
Blame,
letting their egos control their every move,
privilege,
feeling victimized,
playing the victim,
congratulating themselves over that
they're incompetent at or that should have already been done.
They're superior at being dicks.
So what exactly are white people superior at?
Honey, lying, stealing, and cheating.
Manipulation. Withholding information.
Lying.
Telling lies.
What kind of lies?
The lies of history.
They say that history is written by the victor, but the victor could be replaced by the colonized.
What are white people superior at?
Conquering.
Imperialism.
Colonizing.
Colonialism.
Colonization. They might be better at that than us and everybody else, really.
They ballsy. They rose up all over the world and they walk into everybody's house and says, oh, this is nice. I'm going to take your shit. And they have no qualms about it. They can take anything, baby.
What exactly are white people superior at?
They're real good at violence.
Genocide.
It's like stealing people's lives just because they feel like.
Yesterday, 10 Brooklyn subway commuters were shot by a deranged man dressed in a construction vest and gas mask. And his last YouTube video uploaded on April 11th, 2022 makes his position explicit.
These white motherfuckers, this is what they do. Ultimately, at the end of the day, they kill and commit genocide against each other. What do you think they can? What do you think they're going to do to your black ass? That's your friend. You got a white friend, really? They're gonna kill you, nigga. They're gonna kill you. No, they're gonna torture you first. They're gonna fuck you up first, real good.
What kind of white friends do you have?
They doing this right now in Ukraine, torturing and binding and killing and stabbing and raping women and cutting their throat. What do you think they're gonna do to you if they can get a hold of you? They need to be a lot more motherfuckers hit with straight bullets. A lot more motherfuckers need to die by straight bullet. F that.
17% of white respondents felt interracial marriage was morally wrong, compared 17%. With 18% of black respondents and 15% of Hispanic respondents. End of quote.
I want you to find by the time you leave this autonomous zone, I want you to give $10 to one African American person from this autonomous zone. And if you find that's difficult, if you find it's hard for you to give $10 to people of color, to black people especially, you have to think really critically about in the future, are you going to actually give up power and land and capital when you have it? If you have a hard time giving up $10, you got to think about, are you really down with this struggle? Are you really down with the movement?
In Cupertino, California, in an elementary school, third graders are instructed to rank themselves based on their power and their privilege. California's Department of Education is proposing to eliminate opportunities for accelerated math in the name of equity. In Greenwich, a white bias survey is handed out to 7th grade English class. A New York private school is separating by race, gender, and ethnicity. White identifying group met with a white consultant who displayed a slide that named supposed characteristics of white supremacy. An equity statement from the school district of Palm Beach County outlined the initiative dismantling structures rooted in white advantage. It's happening across the country.
Public service announcement. Excuse me. If y'all didn't know, this is the MSC, and frankly, there's just too many white people in here, and this is a space for people of color. So just be really cognizant of the space that you're taking up, because it does make some of us POCs uncomfortable when we see too many white people in here. It's only been open for 4 days, and frankly, there's the whole university for a lot of y'all to be at, and there's very few spaces for us. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Check out the amount of animosity by this user who says, whenever white people say black people or African Americans, I simply don't wish to be referred to by them.
In 2015, a British university students' union banned white people and men from an event to promote equality. In 2016, students at Claremont colleges refused to live with white people. One student said that people of color are allowed to create safe POC-only spaces. It is not reverse racism or discriminatory, it is self-preservation. Other examples include a private college in California hosting a non-whites allowed pool party. Another American university created a cafe as a sanctuary for non-whites. A college in Washington hosted a No White People Day. This college was especially thoughtful because they even had anti-racist workshops available for all white folks and people who do not identify as POC. And in the end, the research concluded that black children are rewarded socially for for avoiding white kids.
A white mother, quote, raised a detriment to society when they raise a son. Someone with the highest propensity to be a terrorist, rapist, racist, killer, and domestic violence all-star.
White, male, young, American-born, Trump-admiring, minority-hating, gun-owning, racist. This is what a terrorist looks like in my country. March against whiteness.
Jamil S. Hubbard, the Sayreville man accused in a savage, racially motivated attack on an Asbury Park Press freelance photographer, Hubbard is charged with bias intimidation and the attempted murder of Jerry Wolkowitz, who was beaten, dragged, and run over by a car in the parking lot of his apartment complex.
Right off the bat, there's this chart that blatantly labels large swaths of the population oppressors. So if you're white, you're an oppressor. If you're a male, you're an oppressor. Christian, able-bodied, heterosexual, not transgender, that makes you an oppressor.
Right? And so that's why I'm coming up with this recent understanding that to abolish whiteness is to abolish white people. And that's very uncomfortable, perhaps, but it asks about our definitions of what race is and what racial justice might mean. Okay?
University President Robert Zimmer shut down the campus after the FBI warned about a threat posted on a hip-hop website, promising an attack on the main campus quad at 10 a.m. today. It read in part, "I will execute approximately 16 white male students and or staff, which is the same number of time McDonald was killed." A reference to the police shots that killed Laquan McDonald. Dean also allegedly wrote, "I will then die killing any number of white policemen in the process. This is not a joke. I am to do my part and rid the world of the white devils."
Joe Biden's pick for the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, very, very powerful position. Tucker Carlson broke this story the other day, is a woman named Kristen Clark, who, while at Harvard, wrote a lot of things about kooky racial theories. She said, "Please use the following theories and observations to assist you in your search for truth regarding the genetic differences between blacks and whites. At the core of the human brain is the locus coeruleus, which is a black structure because it contains large amounts of neuromelanin, which are essential for its operation. Black infants sit, stand, crawl, and walk sooner than whites. Human mental processes are controlled by melanin, which gives blacks their superior physical and mental abilities. Most whites are unable to produce melanin because their pineal glands are calcified or non-functioning. This is the chemical basis for the cultural differences between blacks and whites. Melanin endows blacks with greater mental, physical, and spiritual abilities, something which cannot be measured based on Eurocentric standards."
My son Robert took his life because he thought that all of the oppression was his fault. There were times he felt excluded because he had to use electives for speech therapy. His expressive language would be even worse while wearing a mask. You need to be inclusive to every student. Be inclusive to those who have special needs or not. Be inclusive to those who are masked or unmasked, vaccinated or unvaccinated. Every race, every life, every student matters. No one wants you to stop teaching Black history, but please do not do it in a way that makes his life worth any less. My son was not responsible for everyone's problems. His success does not mean anyone else had to fail. His life mattered, he was important and valued. His emotional disability led him to the conclusion that any success he had, he did not deserve.
I do think that all of us can sort of agree that a politics that says like there are superior and inferior human beings just isn't the way to go. And that's the thing that white people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. You know, their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power.
Many of these Black nationalist and Black separatist groups are on the extreme end of things, but there is absolutely no shortage of them. And I thoroughly enjoy how these hate groups are conveniently left out of any and all discussion about supremacy in the United States. A leading example of a Black nationalist group is the Nation of Islam, led by Louis Farrakhan, who has continued to espouse the group's core belief that white people are inherently evil and that they're blue-eyed devils.
It leads me to believe that someone said something or did something of a racial nature. In other words, you know, we're going to go get this white guy or this white guy this, whether it was during the time of the beating, before the beating, or shortly thereafter.
White people need to address their generational curses. Historically, y'all have lacked compassion. What about this is a lie? Y'all are rarely ever taught compassion and generally don't feel like y'all have a reason to be compassionate.
30-year-old Steve Sinclair is now charged with attempted murder and bias-motivated crime. A victim tells Aurora police Sinclair shouted "Black Lives Matter" before stabbing him. He had serious injuries, including a collapsed lung.
Mayo monkeys gotta go. Same energy. So he's equating white monkeys here to actual white human beings, which is clearly again racism. And
in what can only be described as a throwback to the Jim Crow era, Cornell University began offering a course called BIPOC Rock Climbing, a course that, according to the description that actually appeared on Cornell's website, was open only to Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian, and other people of color.
In my personal experience, white people are emotionally neglectful. They are emotionally manipulative.
In these allegedly internal documents from PayPal, they now view white advocacy as something that can get you banned from the platform. So you can advocate for Black people, Asian people, Hispanic people, but you cannot advocate for whites.
He says during his last few years in college, his history studies changed his thoughts about how white people treated Black people.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were trying to spread the message of making white people the enemy?
Yes. Thandaway told jurors the night before he killed Watts, some white people attended a meeting he felt was only for Black people. He says part of that anger was with him the day of the shootings.
The Times announced it was hiring a woman called Sarah Jong to write about technology for the paper. Within hours, readers discovered Jong's Twitter feed. Judging by what she wrote on Twitter, Sarah Jong is an angry bigot, and not in a subtle way. Here are some examples of her tweets. Quote, "Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men." Another, quote, "Dumbass effing white people marking up the internet with their opinions like dogs peeing on fire hydrants." Another, quote, "Hashtag cancel white people."
Little Black boys are getting shot at, but white people go to Mars. Black families from coast to coast didn't eat today, but whiteys will enjoy their 3-course meals and their spaceships. Black bodies are depleted on the killing fields, and whiteys run it. We affirm putting an end to the killing fields. Black bodies are done with it. Thus, all whiteys should be sent on a one-way trip to continue their deep space exploration and find a new home. Black bodies will keep Earth. This is our way of destroying the killing fields that whiteness has ruled upon. If there are no whiteys on Earth, there is no killing field. All we have done is imagine what a better life looks like, and that life is one without the whiteys ruling over black bodies, and that life, a better life exists where black bodies will flourish on Earth. The creators of capital will be MIA, meaning black people can live for and provide structures for their communities without working in white-centered institutions. While whites explore deep space that is based on definitions of capital and of whiteness, we will be able to explore and have control over our spaces, something that is taken away from us on the killing fields. And whiteys, don't worry about your return flight, because we book you a one-way.
So what happens if/when the white people find a planet with life on it? Are they just going to colonize it? Should we subject other people to that colonization?
Because white people, well, we don't know if it's people that they would be colonizing, first of all, because we don't know what life is.
Should we subject other life to that type of colonization that is happening? White people would colonize another planet.
Okay, but black people shouldn't be subject to it either, so I'm going to say they can live.
I just don't understand how none of you see how incredibly racist the plan is to send an entire group of race to space. Because you're white, go to space. That's incredibly racist. That's the definition.
How it goes further than the epidermis. On what basis?
No, he didn't. He said if you're white, you go to space. Yeah, just having skin color being, that's by definition racism.
How so? Like, I just don't understand. I think that you're like racism.
Racist towards white people.
Because your skin color doesn't determine the level of your power. That's a.
But it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
There are people who are.
There are certain theories,
So every single
that just disagree with you.
Every single white person.
Ronald Judy, including the field of Afro-pessimism and Black studies
So
and queer theory.
Barack Obama didn't have power. He couldn't do anything. He didn't have any power.
He had to show his birth certificate when no other person.
Sure, yeah, everyone faces oppression. Everyone.
No, but that particular oppression can be marked by your skin color, which is something you could probably not fathom. By
No. I'm in a debate space where everyone questions me on my skin color. I can definitely fathom.
Okay, but you're not being questioned on having black skin color.
Here are the facts. So, an indigenous woman, Native American, comes up to a white woman she does not know outside a bar. She yells, "I hate white people," and punches her in the face. This was not a trivial punch. Apparently, the victim of the assault, or legally speaking, a battery, lost a tooth. So, There was a fair amount of force involved.
I don't know if diversity includes white people, because the whole diverseness is normally for urban, Asian, Hispanic. I don't know if it includes it. Like,
Well,
I
let
really
me
have a
tell
hard
you.
time trying to figure that out.
I was like, Lonnie's either going to tell us, or I have the textbook dictionary meaning. So the practice or quality of including or involving people from a range of different social and ethnic backgrounds and of different genders, sexual orientations, etc. So it's different. That is the point. So I don't see white as being included in diversity.
This is not going to be the country of white people.
Let me tell you something. If you're in here, or y'all go run back and tell them, y'all ain't got to tell them that nobody else said shit but me. I'm going to say, listen, you ain't got to chop shit up. I am for the white genocide. I am for the total erasure of the white race. You don't have to chop this up. Yes, I am for all of you white bitches dying like flies. I am for it. I am for it. I support it. I am for putting all you white possums in a gas chamber and letting that motherfucker ring, bitch. I am for it. So you don't have to chop shit up. I'm for it, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down behind it, bitch. Simple as that. So you got to chop shit up. You ain't got to screw the shit. Bitch, I said it, and I stand on it. Simple.
And here we can see a little bit on the data collection where it says the Free Beacon collected data on nearly 1,100 articles about homicides from 6 major papers, all written between 2019 and 2021. Those papers included the Chicago Tribune, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, Philadelphia Inquirer, San Francisco Chronicle, and Minneapolis's Star Tribune. For each article, we collected the offender's and victim's name and race and noted where in the article the offender's race was mentioned, if at all. The data suggests an alarming editorial trend in which major papers routinely omit information from news reports, presenting readers with a skewed picture of who does and doesn't commit crime. These editorial choices are part and parcel with the racial reckoning that swept newsrooms in the wake of Floyd's murder, which saw journalists dramatically overhauling crime coverage to emphasize the view that the criminal justice system is racist at the root, perhaps at the expense of honesty about individual offenders' crimes. So here we can see a graph, and the title is, How Far into the Article Do Papers Mention a Murderer's Race? And on the left side, we see black. On the right side, we see white. And we can see for white people, it's very quick for the papers to mention the offender's race almost immediately if the offender is white. So in the first 10% or 20% of an article, they'll mention that the suspect is white in a majority of cases. Whereas if the offender is black, you can see it's quite the minority in the first 10 to 20% of the article. For a black offender, you have to get through nearly 70% of an article until you see maybe the race of the suspect.